So a little contrast for you here. This is from Jamaica, which is a scary place when you get outside of the resorts, really. But
how far is that from Haiti? It's got to be in the same neighborhood, right?
Yeah, well, it's in the Caribbean. Yeah, or do you say Caribbean? Yeah, it's one of your lovely temperate island nations. 2 of 4 men who were allegedly caught stealing goats in the Salt River District, the town of Clarendon, on Thursday, were caught and beaten by residents. A firearm was reportedly taken from one of the men and handed over to the police. Their identity is being withheld pending further investigation. Reports are about 2 in the afternoon. The 4 men were allegedly stealing goats when they were surprised by the farmers. One of them reportedly pulled a firearm at the farmers, who raised an alarm. Residents came to their assistance, and 2 of the men were held and beaten, while the 2 others escaped. A revolver was taken, blah, blah, blah. The injured men taken to the hospital where they were admitted in stable but serious condition under a police guard. The police are investigating. Okay? So you've got, that's the story from Jamaica. Then we got this note from Jeff. And I'm going to leave the town out because I don't know all the facts. But I'm just going to call it Suburb 3C. It is can be roughish suburb depending where you are. You know, if you're, Bay Area, I don't know, think Vallejo or something like that. Sacto, you might think about Rancho Cordova or something. It's not the towns involved, but it's that. It can be gritty.
But anyway. Also could be okay. You could be in a neighborhood where it's perfectly all right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They're very pleasant places to live in all of the above-mentioned towns. Jack Joe, been listening for 10 years, huge fan of talk radio. And then he says some really kind and flattering stuff about us. Thank you, Jeff. We appreciate it. Thought I'd relay this story about what happened this weekend. It was actually a couple of weeks ago now, but I held on to it. I wrote because during one of the best ofs over the holidays, you talked about DA's office not prosecuting certain crimes. I have purchased 6 rentals in Suburb 3C and the surrounding areas this year. I'm not a fat cat. I'm just trying to make a living when my regular job doesn't pay enough. We buy them and then fix them up nice and get nice people without criminal records to rent them. I'd like to think we're improving the neighborhood. 5 of the 6 homes have been broken into when I purchased them, and the damage amounted to about $15,000 combined. The time of people breaking into vacant homes has mostly passed, as banks who own them do a better job now of securing them, and people in the neighborhoods have gotten sick of living in a neighborhood with a bunch of broken windows. Anyway, I was transitioning renters in one of those homes, and since it's a little isolated, it was broken into again. We called the police, and they said they'd keep an eye on it. I reinforced the door so it wouldn't happen again. Well, this weekend, someone broke out the window and broke in again. They left the stove burners burning and oven on and open, did some minor damage, called the police. They said again, they'll keep an eye on it. Yesterday, when I went to board up the windows, the criminals were inside. My wife called the police, and the criminals started to leave. I told the 4 teenagers that the cops were on the way, and they just said, so? And they sauntered away. I followed them in my truck, and the 2 boys scattered, but we stayed with the girls. As my wife explained to the 911 operator, we're still in pursuit. The operators told us just let them go.
Right.
But we refused. She told us they wouldn't send anyone for quite a while. Finally lost the girls in an alley. When the police did come an hour later, I was fuming. The empathetic officers explained even if the people were in the house with me, it would be considered a squatter call, and they wouldn't even come out for that, at least not until they got around to it. They explained that the policy is that property crimes are low priority. Breaking and entering is low priority? Yes, it is. I talked to the 911 supervisor. She said they handled it right. She said that no, property crimes aren't low priority, but all 6 units near me must have been doing something more important. More important than assisting a citizen who was witnessing a crime in progress and confronting the criminals. The officers assured me, blah, 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 it was just a low priority call.
Unless they're stopping a physical attack of some sort, I can't imagine what would be a higher priority.
To quote your opening, I'm mad. I'm really mad. There aren't many break-ins in the neighborhood where I live. I cannot afford to live in this neighborhood where he bought the units, but the people of low to mid-income of our city should not be subjected to this kind of dismissive treatment by police policy. So we, the law-abiding people, are supposed to stand by doing nothing while the police do, well, almost nothing. Sorry, this is so long. Believe me, I left out many frustrating details. It's Jeff.
And you told the story about, where was that in the Caribbean?
Jamaica.
Jamaica, because there you get a hold of them and you give them a good beating before the police get in there, and everybody's cool with it.
You beat them down. And the police say, all right, we'll take them from here.
And I understand why we can't have vigilante justice.
What? We can't?
I understand how it gets out of hand.
Well, explain it to me during the commercials.
It ought to make a comeback if you can't count on the actual law enforcement to do anything.
Now, the coppers will tell you, sure we care, of course we care. But at this point, their budgets have been slashed unmercifully. There's way more bad guys than good guys. And here's Joe jumping in. The government is trying to do everything, so it's not executing its core responsibilities. The cops can't get enough funding because they're trying to do everything. The counties, the cities, the state, trying to do everything. But I tell you what, I think there's a hell of a contrast between those two stories.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure I like our system better.
God, I would shoot somebody.
Be a sheep. Be a sheep. Be a sheep. There's wolves trying to take my sheep. Let them. You have to let them.
I would so shoot somebody for
breaking
breaking in my place.
Stuff. They're setting fire to my house that I bought. Let them go. Don't do anything. Do not do anything. That is the official policy of our government.
If I put a bullet in their head, they're not going to come back.
If that doesn't bother you, you're a different kind of person than me. You have a different philosophy about the way we're meant to live.
That is unbelievable.
Your thoughts, 1-866-331-TALK. You copper, you want to address why you're forced to make the choices you do? As the police are overtaxed and they tell you, lay down, let the criminals do what they want. We can't be there, so just let them do. Don't do anything about it. Nation of sheep, I swear to God. 1-866-331-TALK, 1-866-331-TALK. You know, listen, I'm not going to get all teary-eyed like Glenn back and say, what happened to this country? But, you know, when our dads, your dad, everybody's dad, was a young man, some hooligans were caught busting up your property or stealing your property, etc. And you took care of it.
Probably get their ass whooped.
In a reasonable way. I'm not talking you didn't beat them to death. You didn't put them in a pit. You didn't rape them. You just gave them a good old ass whooping. And then held them and waited for the cops to show up. Wow.
And the cops would say, I don't notice anything.
Right. Contrast that with these days where the nice 911 lady will tell you, don't do anything. Do not do anything. Just let them go. Let them go. That bespeaks a huge change in our people, the people that we are. And you need to ask yourself, are you comfortable with that change? Yeah. Because it's been pushed by a certain sort of people. Now, do you want me to throw in the, yes, vigilante justice has its flaws and its problems? I'll admit that all day long. I would submit to you that the sheepization of America, which is what we're seeing here to an unbelievable extent, has got horrifying downsides to it. But we never hear about it. Nobody wants to talk about the downsides of us all becoming so damned passive and dependent on the government.
Yeah. Mark that on the log.
What's that?
January 19th. Joe admits vigilante justice has its flaws.
Your calls, 1-866-331-TALK. Did the coppers tell you, just let him go? Or did you get different instructions?
Well, and then if they do catch them, it turns out that nothing really happens to them anyway. So it's a tough one. You're listening to the Armstrong and Getty Show.
Talking about calling the coppers, nobody comes, they got no time. They tell you, let them go, don't do anything, don't intercede. We're a nation of sheep. We are completely dependent on the government. And any view contrary to that is very unpopular and looked upon as somehow ugly and Neanderthal and bizarre. The idea of a guy busts into your house and you bust him up. There could be nothing more natural than that, in my opinion.
No kidding. You came into my shelter.
Right.
Who knows what you're going to do?
Right.
Maybe you're only going to steal my TV. Maybe you're going to steal the TV and kill my wife. I don't know.
Right.
But I ain't going to wait to find out.
Right. There could be nothing more appropriate than that. And we've progressed to the point in this sheepish society where our one and only option is to call the authorities and pray they get there and take care of things for us. And it really bothers the hell out of me.
That's why I have a shotgun, and I have an unregistered handgun with the serial number filed off. No fingerprints to place in that guy's hand after I shoot him.
Taser in every room, too. And a series of booby traps.
I shoot him, I put the gun in his hand. It's all done.
You realize this is being aired, right? And they tape this stuff.